Dad, you just told a story about great grandpa settling Clearfield and the first white baby being born. Um, can you tell those stories again?
We, we could. I always knew that great grandpa settled Clearfield and that when they first came from England to, they came to Layton and lived with an uncle of his. He filed for citizenship and it took 2 years for it to come through. When he was granted citizenship, then he could file for a homestead, which he did in Clearfield. When I was reading in the Syracuse history, they credited Richard Hamblin, Richard Venable, and I think it was a cook for clearing the first land for farming. And I couldn't figure out why he was clearing land in Syracuse and yet he homesteaded in Clearfield. Till I read in the Syracuse history that at that time, Syracuse, the boundaries of Syracuse was from the lake to the mountain, from North Salt Lake to South Hooper. So that encompassed quite an area. Later, Clearfield first became known as Sand Ridge, and then it was changed to Clearfield. Can we tell any more about the homestead and the house?
Yeah.
They did strawberries. That's
Well,
neat.
Uh, when they were granted the homestead, in order to, you had to, what they called, prove up on the homestead. You had to live on it and improve it. So he dug a dugout on kind of a little hill, and as it says in the book, put a roof over it of sagebrush and sand. I don't know how you would keep the sand out of anything, but they lived in that for 2 years, during which time he attempted to dig several wells, could not find any water in any of the wells that he dug. And I knew that he didn't have a team of oxen for 2 years at the time, but I didn't know what it entailed, didn't realize. For 2 years, he still worked for an uncle in Layton, and he walked to Layton and back every day. And not only that, means they had no well. The water came out of Case Creek. The Case Creek comes down from off the mountains to the east and runs through Layton. So he had to carry the water on his back from Layton to Clearfield, all the water that they used for 2 years for cooking and bathing and whatever.
Wow.
After, well, during this time they had, I think it was their third child was born, and he was the first white child born in Clearfield. His name was Moroni. He was my granddad's older brother. Finally, I can't tell you how many years, how long a time elapsed, but he could not find any water. One night, when they went to bed, he told his wife, Emily, "We're going to have to leave. There is no water here." Sometime during the night, she had a dream that she looked down the well and could see something.
Jewels.
As as the story went, she got up and went to the well in the middle of the night. Actually, I don't think she did, because that well was at least 200 yards from their dugout. But the next morning, when she looked down the well, the jewels that she thought she seen in her dream was actually water. They did have water. after, at some point, I think after great grandpa got his oxen, he pulled logs down from the mountains to the east and built a 2-room log cabin. After he had water in this well, he moved the log cabin down to the well site, and he had enough 1 by 12 to form around a small cabin twice, so the three walls they built on the side of the log cabin, built 3 walls out of concrete, and he would mix it up. It's what they call lime concrete, and I don't know exactly what lime concrete was, but it was good enough, solid enough that he would set it up and pour it one day, and then the next day he would strip it off, raise it up a foot, and pour it again. So he poured all the walls. And I remember just a very few years ago, that that concrete portion was still standing.
When did they go to St. George and get strawberry plants?
Well, after he had water, he also built the cement room. He built a small, I don't know how big it was, a storage facility for water. They had a windmill on the well, so it would pump water anytime the wind blew. And so he would store it in this little pond area. Sometime he took several of his oldest sons, and by that time he had a team of horses, and they went to St. George and brought back, if you can imagine, traveling clear to St. George with a wagon and horses, brought back strawberry plants. The strawberry plants, when he planted them in the Clearfield area, the soil was sandy enough that they really thrived. I was never told how many acres of strawberries they had, but for a length of time, he was known as the Strawberry King. He would supply 100 cases a day to the Ogden market and 100 cases a day to the Evanston market.
Wow.
When it came time to harvest the strawberries, they needed extra help. So there was Barton sisters that came and picked strawberries. And we had sisters marry brothers, because Moroni married Kate, and Frederick married Naomi.
Is the water running someplace?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mom, on your other tape, did you tell about picking cotton?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
What
It's the
were,
only way we had to, it's the only income we had when we were in Phoenix. Maybe I didn't tell about it when we went to Phoenix.
We'll tell about it.
Huh?
Tell about it now.
Okay. When we lived in 3 different houses. We were there for almost a year. When we lived in the 3rd house and Grandpa couldn't get a job, we went with the cotton pickers. Only they knew how to pick good, and we had to go along behind them and pick out the stuff that they missed. And the bags were about 20 feet long, and they dragged along behind you and put cotton in them. And you get bloody fingers, because the cotton comes out of this little thing that has these little sharp things on there, and you reach in there and get it, and you get bloody fingers. And I would, my dad decided I could earn some money by making chili. I was in the 8th grade then, and he said, I could earn some money by making chili and taking it and serving chili at lunchtime for the cotton pickers. And so I did.
So did Grandma and Grandpa pick cotton too?
Oh yeah, that was,
The
the
whole
whole
family?
family did, yeah. The whole family did. Yep.
What are you most proud of Brent for?
Now what did you say?
What were you most proud of Brent for?
Oh, I was proud of him for a lot of things. He was a fantastic student, very honest, and he never boasted. He did not boast about anything. When he won a contest, a photo contest of a portrait, and it was at the Weaver County Library, he didn't even think it was that much. He didn't think it was so great, but he was very, very honest.
What about you, Dad?
Yeah, I'd have to say, when he was in school, he was, well, we didn't even know this till the third semester, third quarter. When we went up for parent-teacher conference, and his algebra teacher said that in the beginning of the year, Brent was doing so good in algebra that she gave him a book, a geometry book.
Was that his senior year or junior?
What is, I don't know. She gave him a geometry book and said he progressed himself the way, just whenever he wanted to do it, and whenever he handed in a paper, it was normally 100% right. So at the end of the school year, they gave him a test on geometry and gave him an A for a course that he'd never enrolled in. And then the next year, when he was in college, he was senior.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, when he was in college, he would go down and go into one of the math classes, probably algebra. And the kids that were struggling, having a hard time, he would sit in the seat with them and explain it to them. And the teacher said that so it seemed like some kids could not learn from a teacher. But she said Brent could sit with them kids in the seat with them, and they related to him anyway. He was doing that, quite often.
What are you most proud of Dwayne for?
Oh, lots of things. He was very talented. He was a good artist. He probably still is, but he's too busy. And really good in music. He played the drum in junior high, and he always looked nice. He always looked nice. And when he was in Cub Scouts, he got so many arrows going down that his shirt, that they were clear down in where he tucked his shirt in his pants.
What about you, Dad?
Well, when he was in junior high, he was in a skit at school. And during the skit, there's a guy laying there on the floor that had supposedly been hit by a car or something, and Dwayne is walking with a girl on his arm, and this kid's laying on the floor and saying, "Oh, call me an ambulance! Call me an ambulance!" Dwayne says, "Okay, you're an ambulance."
I forgot about that.
But when he was in high school, him and Brett both were doing photography. And I don't remember where, but I know he was standing up before a group of the kids, or well, maybe it wasn't kids. Anyway, telling about his photography, and he says it's very rewarding to take a picture of a girl, and then when during the process to watch her develop.
That was Brent.
Was that Brent?
Yes,
Oh.
because it sounded so strange coming from him because he was so shy. Yeah.
What are you most proud of Terry for?
Lots of things. Like he could pick up. He was very, very good in math and in algebra when he was in junior high, and he became student body president. And I remember the teacher said they wish they had others that were as good as him. But going back when we were in Idaho, and we already said he shingled the house when he was 9 years old, finished shingling it. And when we moved back to Ogden, he built little houses, and big houses, and houses, and houses, and houses, to the point to where Dad got mad at him and said, "Stop building houses." And I thought they were cute. He's very talented there. He is an artist, too.
What about you, Dad?
Yeah, I remember. He was very good. Well, all three of the boys particularly, I think. They were all very good in math.
And very creative.
And very creative. When we built the shop, well, the mathematical rule is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which, if I had a calculator, I could do it. But when we were squaring up the shop, which was, the shop was 24'3" by 30'3". And Terry, without using a pencil, told me what the diagonal measurement would be. It still amazes me.
What are you most proud of Tanya for?
Tanya is she has a lot more humility than people realize. She has a very sweet spirit, and she's a fantastic artist. I remember said one time when somebody asked her about her talent, she said talent is 99% work. And she was the Sterling Scholar when she graduated. Oh, Brent was Sterling Scholar in math, and she was Sterling Scholar in art when she graduated. She could draw an eye on a piece of paper, and before anything else was on there, you knew who that person was by looking at that eye. That's how good she is.
What about you, Dad?
Yeah, when she was little, she would come home from primary and sit at the piano and play the tunes that she'd heard in primary. And it was Diane Hoyle that was giving her lessons.
Mm-hmm.
A neighbor, Diane Hoyle, was giving her piano lessons. And Tanya, she didn't teach her anything, I don't think.
Oh,
Because
before
Tanya
that, another lady did. She'd sit there and kick the
kick
piano.
the piano, but she didn't want to do the scale and everything the way they wanted her to. But and she was Sterling Scholar in art.
Mm-hmm.
Brent was Sterling Scholar in math.
And Brent also would come home from primary when he was 3 years old, and he'd sit down and play the piano tunes. What do you remember hearing in primary? Yeah. In fact, all of our kids probably are artists.
Well, you had a show at the Weber County Library at one time, and all of the kids, each of the kids had something in that show. And Terry's entry got stolen. And Dwayne, a lady from back east someplace, bought his, didn't she?
That was a different piece.
Was it?
That was at the Eccles.
What are you most proud of Tina for?
Tina is a very what is the word when she's charitable to other people? What is the word? I can't think of it. In Relief Society, they teach us to be
Compassionate.
compassionate. Tina is a very compassionate person. If somebody else has a problem, then it's her problem. And she is a very compassionate person. She always has been. And she was a fantastic student too. She's a good worker. That girl is a good, hard worker. When she was little, if somebody couldn't figure something out, she knew how to figure it out. We had a little red wagon to put together for you, and she put it together.
What about you, Dad?
Well, she's always been too compassionate sometimes with people that were in need, and if there was anybody that would help them, it would be Tina, and not just help them, but seem to take on their problems, become her problems.
Okay, we have another daughter.
What are you most proud of me for?
Lots of things. But when you were in grade school, I knew that you were going to go to college and become very, very successful. And then when you up and decided that when you were 16 you were going to get married, I thought, boy, was I wrong. But you showed me that I was wrong, because you did go to college and you did get a degree, and you went back when it was very difficult and got a master's degree. So I'm very proud of Tammy. And she was a fantastic piano player, just like Tanya. Really good. She went to competition, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. She went to competition.
Yep, I did.
And she did good. And she's a good, hard worker.
Well, I'd have to say your dedication to your schooling, because you knew what you wanted, and you worked very hard and went without some things to get what you wanted. So you're very successful, and I don't see you looking down on other people that have not had the drive to get the schooling to achieve what you have achieved.
So, how do you guys feel about religion?
I know that this church is the true church. And I know that Joseph Smith was the instrument for Christ bringing a church back on earth. I have no doubt. What I was going to say next was, if you read the Book of Mormon, or like I've done most of the time, is the tapes, that works for me, then I don't understand how anybody could read the Book of Mormon or listen to it and not know that it is definitely the truth, that Joseph Smith was an instrument from God. That's my testimony.
How about you, Dad?
Yeah, I would have to say yes. I have never read the scriptures as much as I have done the last, how many years ago was it when President Hinckley, that was the assignment, was to read the Book of Mormon?
It was about 5 years ago.
That was the first time I read it through. continually read it till I was through with it. And I've since read it again. I'm back into it again now in different parts. And I'm amazed. I think my favorite would have to be Captain Moroni, what he did, what he believed, and the 2,000 stripling warriors that fought in battle after battle after battle, and none of them were killed. That's amazing. You have to understand, when they used to war, they would come onto the battlefield and fight with swords, whatever, all day long. And then at dark, they would go back to their tents and recoup and come again the next day. And I don't think it said too much, well, different places it did about burying the bodies. But one, I can't even remember now who fought, but the two leaders of the armies fought and fought and fought till there was only two men left. And that was the two leaders. It's almost incomprehensible that they would be the last two still standing if they fought all day long. Back then, the leaders primarily led their armies into battle. They didn't, you go do that. They were that right there in the thick of it. So it was amazing that they would be the last two left alive.
What's your favorite Christmas with your family?
Mine would be when we were in the house on Jefferson.
What happened that Christmas?
Huh?
What happened that Christmas?
It was after Tina came home from the hospital. Came home from the hospital with Tina. And we couldn't afford very much, so we went to the DI and bought a doll for Tanya that was a skinny long doll about this, and he made a bed for her, for the doll. And it just seemed like a really nice Christmas when I think of it.
I made a little tiny rocking chair for that dog.
Yeah, And I think the boys all got a Tonka truck.
The Tonka truck, yeah, that was a
Each
big
of them a
thing.
different kind of Tonka truck. About this big. Tonka trucks.
They were made out of metal then.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. They're not now?
Before plastic. Yeah.
Oh.
How about you, Bert? What was your most memorable Christmas?
Well, that would have to be one of them, because you come home Christmas Eve, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And 20 years later, we brought Tina home from the hospital with David on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But another one was really neat up in Idaho, is we had a fantastically beautiful house. This gold carpet and great big stone
Lava rock.
fireplace, and that was a neat Christmas too. That was a fun Christmas. The kids go out and jump on the skidoo and take off. That was a really fun Christmas too.
Yeah, well, when Brent would come home from school, did he walk down to the gas station and get a can of gas?
I don't remember.
It seems like he did more than once. But our dog Coco would be, as soon as Brent started messing around with the skidoo, Coco's sitting on the skidoo ready for his ride.
So you were happy in Idaho. What enticed you to come back to Utah?
No work.
Work.
No work.
So how long did you live in that house that you loved so much?
Almost a year.
That was all?
Mm-hmm. We lived in Idaho 2 years. The first year was in the apartments. The second year was in the house.
So you built a house and moved into it and lived there a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yep, I would have liked to stay.
When we decided we were gonna sell, we didn't have to put it on the market. The gas man, Bob Rigby,
Mhm.
he had the Dairy Queen in town that he owned. But when he run the gas to our house, and he says, if you ever decide you want to sell, why, let me know. And so when we told him we wanted to sell, why, he got the money and bought it.
So what do you want to do for the Christmas of 2010? Do you want to do something that involves your family? What do you have in
yes,
mind? What do you have in mind?
Definitely. Eat.
Well, it seems like, though, that life is so fast anymore that it's almost impossible to get all the kids together because they've got their families and that. So it's going now into like 3 generations, 4 generations. Yeah. Yeah. So it involves a lot of people. Anymore, well, we've never gone into debt for Christmas. We always have, for the most part, paid for everything up front.
But we did never get big, fancy, expensive gifts for our
No,
kids
no, we
like
didn't.
some people did. And I always felt bad because our kids didn't get nearly what other kids did.
Is there some traditions you'd like to see carried on?
Yeah, I think I'd like everybody to still get together at Christmas time.
And your New Year's Eve parties?
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's
fun.
something even when the kids were little, we did not go out on
Nope.
Christmas Eve. We stayed home with the kids and
Yeah.
played games or whatever. So that was something that,
You mean New Year's Eve?
well,
Mhm.
yeah, New Year's Eve. I'm sorry,
New Year's Eve, yeah.
New Year's Eve. We always tried to spend it with the kids.
Is there something you'd like to say to your grandkids for this Christmas coming up? All of them.
Yeah, I would. That I hope they understand that we still love them even though we don't give them big fancy gifts. Because we can't afford to give a bunch of gifts now. There's so many of them.
Again, how many are there?
There's about 28 grandchildren and about 20 great-grandchildren. Give or take of 1 or 2.
I would have to say, I guess, to respect one another and,
Yeah.
and love one another. And don't be afraid of telling somebody that you love them.
You said that your family growing up, um, they didn't express themselves with hugs and things like that. So was that hard for you to be around Mom's family where they were very huggy, touchy-feely? Was it kind of foreign to you?
Well, it was foreign, and yet I never felt uncomfortable.
Well,
It
I
was,
think you thoroughly enjoyed it.
it was particularly with, it seems like particularly with Eileen, it was always kissing cousins, what she would say. And it was different. It was, it really was different. It's not that it was different bad, it was different good.
What kind of advice would you give to new parents?
New parents,
Uh-huh.
I think I would like to tell them to stay close to the church and try to stay involved with the kids' lives as much as they could.
Yeah. Stay in school
Mm-hmm.
and study hard.
And get as much education as possible. The more the better.
That chair?
There.
Do you want me to
It's
sit
recording.
in that chair? Do you want me to sit, to go in the bathroom and stay, or?
Okay, it's recording.
It's recording now.
Is it recording? Okay.
Yes, it's not, there's no video.
Okay.
Okay. So I had some questions that I wanted to just go through with you a little bit. Do you remember anything about your mom?
I can remember her playing the guitar and singing, and I remember sitting on her lap and putting my head on her chest, and she always had a song on her that she was talking or humming, and I remember her music. I remember how sweet she was to Eileen and I, and
What are you doing?
I don't know if she's gonna be loud enough to get picked in.
Oh, okay.
So put the camera over here.
Okay.
There's no video there.
Still no video.
oh, okay.
So you remember how sweet she was?
Oh yes, she was sweet, and she loved young people and liked to have young people around.
Yeah. That was what Grandma said, that she always wanted to have the kids over.
Hmm. She did.
So what do you remember about your dad?
Oh, my dad. My dad was a special man. He was gone a lot herding sheep,
Mm-hmm.
and during the Depression, we hardly saw him. And after my mother died, and we moved in with Aunt Margaret and Uncle Lyman, when he would come, I remember sitting on his lap, and he loved us, and he felt so bad because he couldn't be with us more. And I remember him crying because he was gone so much from us and wasn't able to see us as often as he would like.
Mm. So was he? I've heard that Grandma was really into music. Your mom was really into music. Was he into music a lot too?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
So he didn't play the guitar or anything?
Mm-mm.
All right. What do you remember of when you were growing up and being around my grandma? Did she take care of you very much or anything, or?
Oh, your grandma she did a lot of sewing for us. She made dresses for us, and she was always so sweet. And I never saw Maggie angry. Never did see her angry, or even with the children, with Billy and Darlene and Mac and Becky. I never saw her angry with anybody. She was always so kind, and we loved to be with her. Eileen and I. She was really a sweet lady, and I loved her.
Yeah, I loved her too. She was kind of nice. Do you have like any traits that you think came through the Davies line that are all pretty similar within you and your siblings? Like I know there's the pinky. You know about that? You don't know about that?
Hmm.
Eileen, I think it was Eileen that pointed out that all the Davies have
Oh,
pinkies that go like that. Yours don't do that.
no, mine don't do that.
Wow. Everybody else,
No, maybe a black sheep of the family.
you must be.
I was just kind of jerked up when I was growing up. I didn't. I was kind of an oddball.
They always had a black sheep in the herd to keep, so they could
Yeah.
count together. She was the black sheep.
So anyway, are there any particular traits that you think are specific to the Davies?
Well, I don't play the guitar. I had my mother's guitar, but I didn't learn to play, and I don't sing, but I do love my grandchildren and like to be with my children.
Very family oriented.
Oh yes, my girls, my family is the most important thing in my life, and I have 5 babysitters that we can't do anything without letting those 5 girls know what we're going to do or where we're going, and one of them has to go with us because they don't think we can do it by ourselves anymore.
2 more.
Let's see. So, how did the siblings get along? Like you and Eileen and Grandma and everybody. Did you get along really well, or was there?
We got along pretty well. But we got along really well. My brothers, John R. took such good care of us. He always made sure that he could make something for us to play with. But Eileen and I, she tried to be my mother, and she bossed me around, and I wasn't about to have that. So we really didn't become very good friends until after we were both married. But but I remember when she was gone, I really did miss her a lot. We did have a lot in common, and we did really get along pretty well together. But the important things, she wanted to be my boss, and I wouldn't let her.
Well, with what happened though, with your dad being gone and your mom having passed away, did you really get to see your other siblings very much?
Oh yes, I did. I got to see them quite often. Eileen and I, we moved in with Aunt Margaret and Uncle Lyman, and there was John R. and Delbert and LeVar. After my mother died, we moved in with Aunt Margaret and Uncle Lyman, and they took care of us. And we spent a lot of time with Addie after she got married. Eileen and I did, and when she started having her family. But when I was in when Aunt Margaret started having her family, the family moved out to Talmadge, except for me, and I was only in the 5th grade. And R told me that my dad made arrangements for me to stay in Duchesne with a man named Tatton Bench and his family. They had a daughter my age, and I stayed with them to go to school until my Aunt Patience's daughter, Sidonia, who lived in Duchesne, when she found out about it, she came to my father and made arrangements for me to stay with them.
Oh.
And I stayed with Sidonia and Earl Wright until I graduated from 5th grade, and then I was able to move back to Talmadge with the rest of the family and completed 6th grade in Talmadge.
Now, if I remember right, your dad had built a nice house there in Talmadge. It was a 2-story house, is that right? So you lived there?
Yes.
Did your mom ever live there?
No.
Okay, so he built it after she was...
Yes, he built it after she passed away.
What was it like?
No, I'm wrong. She did live there. they built that home when John R. was a baby, and she did live there.
Oh, okay.
And then during the Depression, they decided to take the family out to Springville so they could get an education, a better education than
Oh.
they could out in Talmadge.
Yeah.
So my mother did live there.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the first modern home she ever lived in was in Springville, and that was not long before she died.
And when you say modern, what do you mean by modern?
Modern home, like a running water in the house and a bathroom
Okay.
in the house,
Mm-hmm.
not an outside toilet that we had in Talmadge.
Okay. So when you were young, you remember the outhouses and
Oh yes, and we had kerosene lights, and the only telephone was up at the store in Talmadge. No one had telephones.
Now, my mom and dad were telling me a little while ago about how the family used to take a bath in a great big tub.
That's what we did.
Did you? Did everybody use the same bath water?
I know.
Sometimes.
I think the boys. I think they bathed a different night. We bathed once a week in a big tub, and I know Eileen and I did. And as soon as we got out of the tub, Addie and Maggie would wave our hair, and Maggie was so good at waving
What does that mean?
waving your hair with waving fluid, making, it was kind of sticky waving fluid.
Really?
Didn't you have them little?
No,
The
just
clips?
wave it with your fingers,
Oh.
waving our hair, fixing our hair, and I remember that. That was before my mother died.
I've seen pictures of women that had, and I always wondered how they did that. So it was through a cream and your fingers. Oh, that's interesting. So did you have long hair then, or?
Eileen had curly hair.
Oh, did you?
My hair was kind of pitiful. I was blonde, and she was dark haired, and I don't know what my hair looked like. I don't think I had much hair, but they was always made us look pretty.
That's what caught my eye when I met you.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
Do you, this is another thing I asked my mom and dad, because everybody bathed once a week, and they didn't have antiperspirant and deodorant, and they didn't have air conditioning, I would imagine people kind of stank a little bit. Did they? Do you remember that at all?
They did what?
Didn't they stink?
I don't think so.
That's what they said. They don't
think so.
remember that
Oh,
either.
we washed, but we didn't bathe. We washed, and we had a kind of a low bench that had a washstand and a bucket of water, and we washed every day, but we didn't. We only bathed once a week, and I don't remember anybody stinking.
What a question.
Sorry, I just find that interesting. Because now, if somebody doesn't shower for a day,
Well, it wasn't really that hot out there.
I still
It
shower once a
wasn't?
week.
it wasn't that hot out in Talmadge? So it wasn't like it is now, or?
Oh no, I don't think it was. I don't remember it being hot.
Really?
I remember it being very, very cold in the winter and having lots of snow, but I don't remember it being hot, extra hot in the summer.
That's interesting.
So have the climates changed a lot since then?
It has. We used to have real good winters.
We
like
used to
did
have
this year.
a lot of snow. The snow
Every
would be
year.
clear to the top of
Really?
the fence posts.
Really? How did you get around?
Well, they graded the roads, and we.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's gonna be that way at the door, if
If
it's
it
that way at the
drifted
fence
south, you
post
stayed
too,
on
how
till they
did
got
you
it
even?
over.
Well,
See, now
the wind
what?
would blow. It'd, I don't know how we got around. We did.
Nobody had any cars. You had to walk or ride a horse.
We had to walk everywhere we went.
Mom said that they lived in town, when she would catch a ride on the mail truck
Uh-huh.
to go into Duchesne. Did
Yes.
you do that?
I don't remember. I was too young.
Oh, yeah, you would have been.
I don't remember catching the mail truck, but that's how they traveled from Talmadge to Duchesne, is on the mail truck.
That's interesting. Do you remember any pets that you had when you were little?
I remember before we moved to it wasn't a pet, it was a mean sheep. As soon as you'd go out, open the gate to go to the toilet, that sheep would bunt me down, and I wouldn't go to the toilet unless Eileen would go with me. And then Maggie bought a piano then, and it came in a wooden box, and we called that the piano box, and they put that up to the barn. And as soon as that sheep would see it coming, we would run like anything and jump in that piano box to get away from that sheep.
That's funny. No, somebody, and I can't think of who it was saying that there was an animal, it was either a chicken or a sheep or something that used to just torment them. And when their dad found out, he got rid of the animal. Like, he didn't sell it, get rid of it.
Oh, we
but
didn't torment anything.
No, it was tormenting whoever it was I was talking to. It was either mom or grandma or a story that I read or something.
Well, I don't remember him.
So he
I
didn't
don't
get rid
know.
of the animal?
No, I don't remember when we got rid of it. But I remember I was scared to death of it.
What is my time? Oh, gosh. Let's see. Did you ride a school bus?
I did, after I graduated from 6th grade, I rode the school bus to Altamont.
And where were
To
you
school.
living then?
We lived in Talmadge.
Oh, okay. That's a long drive.
That's when I moved back with the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I rode the school bus to Altamont, and that was how many miles? It wasn't very many miles.
No, it's only about 12, 15 miles.
Yeah, but didn't it take a long time?
It seemed like it, but
They
We
picked
did.
up a lot of kids, so.
I would think that would take quite a while because of that, being out there, they would pick up quite a few
Well,
kids, I would think.
yeah.
You
They
didn't go
kept-
30 miles an hour most of the time.
We picked up all the kids from Talmadge and Bonita
Dirt road.
before we got to Altamont.
Did you have chores that you did when you were
Oh,
a
you
child?
betcha. I learned how to milk the cows, feed the pigs, the chickens. I hated the chickens.
How come?
Well, because they'd pick me. But I milked the cows a lot. When I started going with Bill, I'd have to get the chores done before I could go. Bill would have to help me sometimes.
Delbert was already gone. She'd left her and Stella to do the chores.
Oh.
I milked cows before she could go.
Let's see. What are some of your favorite memories of my grandma?
My,
Maggie.
my favorite what?
Memories.
Memories? Oh, it's just the love she had for us, and the dresses she sewed for us, and how concerned she was for Eileen and I. And that's the favorite memory I think I have of Maggie in Talmadge. She was always so caring and so sweet to us.
Do you remember my grandpa, Steven?
Yes.
What do you remember about when they were together? Do you remember that at all.
I remember he would read the scriptures, and he was quite religious.
Oh, really?
Hmm. And
Was Grandma?
oh yes,
Was she?
she worked in the primary, and she played the piano for church, and worked in the Relief Society. Yes, Maggie was very religious.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Her and Wilford would play that, he'd play that.
Yeah, they played for dances together.
Yeah.
Maggie played the piano, and Wilford would play the banjo or the guitar,
Huh.
mostly the banjo, and play for dances.
Mm-hmm.
And Maggie was very good on the piano, and I really, really loved to listen to her play the piano. She was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got some of the music that she used to play, and
Yes.
I have no idea how she played that. There's Falling Waters. Did you ever hear her play that one?
Under the Double Eagle, I remember
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do. She was very good on the piano.
It's almost your bedtime, so let's see. What was your first experience with a TV?
After Bill and I were married.
Really?
Hmm.
Mom said that she was used to the radio, so she knew what a radio was. And then in the comic strips, she saw that there was a radio that had pictures on it. And she thought that was really weird. What was your first exposure to it?
We listened to programs on the radio, Stella Dallas and Argyle Sunday, but I wasn't familiar with the TV at all until after Bill and I were married. We were married in 48.
Okay.
Really?
My battery's about to go. So
Long
did you have any family traditions back when you were with your siblings?
Well, Thanksgiving and Christmas, I don't remember any any different family traditions that I remember, except for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we all tried to be together at Thanksgiving, and Christmas a lot of times was pretty scarce, especially during the Depression. We were lucky to even get a few sticks of candy and an orange, and but it didn't seem like it bothered us at all. We didn't care.
So right now Christmas is focused on presents and things. Back then, did you guys celebrate more of Christ's birth and what it was really about? Was there more of a discussion around that?
And not a whole lot. We did some, but not a whole lot.
Yes, it is. Let me see if I have any. What are some of your favorite advances and changes in technology from when you were a child to now?
My favorite? Well, let me tell you that the computer age now is very confusing to me. I think that we're getting a little overboard with the cell phones, iPhones, everything like that. I think it causes a lot of trouble, a lot of problems, and it makes me wish that we didn't have quite so much.
I can understand that. What about like running water and
Oh, I
kind of
wouldn't know how to get by without it now,
But back when you didn't have it, it wasn't a problem because you didn't know any better, right?
Well, we lived in a log cabin with a dirt roof, a 2-room log cabin with a dirt roof, and we hauled our water. And the first week that we lived there, I went through a lot of water, and I learned to conserve water because we hauled it from quite a distance.
About 4 miles.
And I really do appreciate running water, and especially bathrooms and showers now that we didn't have a long time ago.
I think that's all that I had written down. Do you have anything else that you can think of to add?
No, I can't think of anything except the fact that I really do appreciate my family. I think the older we get, the more we appreciate the family that we have, and what special people that they are.
Yeah, even if they are spoiled. Well, my battery is flashing, and so it's almost dead.